Hello everyone. In this video, I will be discussing Principles of Good Writing by Leslie Hill. This is an essay where the writer talks about some basic principles of writing well. I'll start with the first point that the writer suggests. The first point is write clearly and logically. To write well, it's vital that we write clearly and logically. But how to write clearly and logically? The writer says that in order to write clearly, it is important that we are able to think clearly and logically. But how? Is there a formula to this? The writer says yes. He demonstrates the way we can think clearly and logically with an example. He says, ask yourself a question, am I free? The answer would be, you'll have to ask another question, am I free to go to Mars? No, I'm not free to go to Mars. So my freedom is limited by what is possible to do. Ask another question. Am I free to kill my neighbor? No, I'm not free to kill my neighbor. So my freedom is again restricted by what is legal. But I am free to kill my neighbor if I'm not found, if this crime is not found out by the legal system. And then if I'm free to harm my neighbor, isn't my neighbor also free to harm me? So, if all of us come together and put a little restriction on the freedom, all of us are better equipped to exercise our freedoms. So that's how, we can think clearly and logically, step by step. But then that's the second principle, step by step thinking, clear thinking. It requires a lot of practice. It is not possible without practice, because the nature of our mind is that it wanders. It is prone to distractions. With that, the writer goes on to the next principle, increase your vocabulary. All of us are aware of the significance of vocabulary, power of expression. The writer has to say that read widely and carefully, that is, go for extensive and intensive reading, note minute details, and go for a lot of wide range of texts and style. He says that note words that touch you, make a note of the words that strike you, that appeal you. You cannot go on making a list of words, all the words that come to you, because it is possible that there are many new words that you might not be aware of. But then note the words that strike you, that touch you, that appeal you, and thus you can develop your own unique vocabulary. Next principle that Leslie Hill talks about is practice regularly. He emphasizes the significance of practicing. Writing is a skill like swimming, cycling, speaking, communicating, and as we know that all the skills can be improved upon, they can be honed only with practice. All the great writers agree on this point, that you learn to write well by writing. The other aspect of this principle is that you don't have to wait for inspiration. You have to start working. And even established writers say that inspiration doesn't work. It's pure work. It's hard work. You have to sit at your desk and write. Then the next principle is be open. Now, what does the writer mean when he gives this suggestion? Open to what? Open to conversations, open to observations. Look around, look at people, look at trees, breeze, birds, a security guard, the way buildings are constructed. Experience things. You can experience by reading and traveling. You can experience little joys of your day-to-day life, and you can come across numerous stories of human celebrations and tragedies through newspapers, magazines, television, etc. And the next aspect is that while you observe, while you converse, while you experience these things, you will be struck by many ideas. But then the nature of these ideas are that they are fleeting. They are always ready to fly away. You will also have to be ready to grab these ideas, have to capture them, before they fly away. So that aspect is equally important. Then the next principle that the writer gives us is be human. He talks about this significance of being able to forge genuine connection with people around you. It's very important that we are warm and empathetic, in order to be able to write well. Then the next principle is that choose a subject of which you have personal experience. For obvious reason that we cannot write with authority, or we cannot write convincingly if we are not exposed to the subject matter. If we have not ourselves experienced something, if we have ourselves experienced things, we are able to write more convincingly and more compellingly about that topic. So the writer says that choose a subject of which you have personal knowledge, personal experience. The next principle is watch your presentation. Now, what does it mean? He says that presentation is of great significance when we are writing. We know that everything that we write or speak, has to be organized. Here he talks about the opening that has to be startling. That is, it has to be, it should be noted, it should be eye-catching, and it should also imply the purpose or aim of write-up. The middle should support the thesis, or it should support the argument with appropriate and relevant examples and evidences. And then the end is equally important. It should not be abrupt, it should be neat and clean, it should be satisfying. You must be able to finish in style. Many times writing starts well, it also gives a lot of examples, but if the end is not strong enough, the conclusion is not strong enough, it loses its appeal. Now the next principle is be interested in your subject. So if unless you are yourself enthusiastic about your subject matter, you cannot communicate that eagerness, that enthusiasm or curiosity to your readers. So you have to believe in it, you have to have conviction, you have to be interested in your write-up. And then the next aspect of this subpoint is that you must also be mindful of the fact that your readers can have different type, they can have different levels of interest. Everybody might not be interested in what you're writing, and so you should be able to come to terms with that. And what you can do is you can try to find out what appeals a particular section of reader. You have to do a little work and research in that area, and accordingly you can shape your write-up. The second last point is don't try too hard. It's related to the previous point in that you don't have to be self-conscious, you don't have to copy anybody. You may learn from different styles of different writers, but you should rather strive to have your own original style and your own original voice, and that will happen only if you try to be natural and sincere. And you have to also believe that you will find your audience. You don't have to try very hard to appeal a particular set of audience. That is important. Lastly, the writer says that you cultivate vivid expression. Why we still consider Shakespeare as the greatest writer of all time? His writing was full of vivid expressions. We remember numerous of those expressions, like sweet torment, like frility, thy name is woman, all that glitters is not gold, and so on. So these expressions are full of layered meaning. They give you an image and a picture in your mind the moment you listen to it. It's like somebody's telling you a story. It's not just an expression but a story. So the writer implies that we have to train ourselves to cultivate such expressions, vivid expressions. And other related suggestions are that he says that you must avoid jargons, officialese, hackneyed expressions, rhetorical flourishes, empty verbiage, and euphemism. So the writer says that we have to avoid all of these. Now I'll quickly tell you what do we mean by these. Jargons are subject-specific terms which might be very useful when you talk technical, in technical paper or in technical discussion, but in general write-up and communication they may function like an obstacle. For an example, if you talk about petrology, isotope, igneous, metamorphic, and sedimentary, these terms relate to earth sciences. So, in general context, they do not make much sense. Hackneyed expressions are expressions which are very commonplace, very normal. So we must avoid hackneyed expressions in writing. For an example, Adam's ale for water, and try your level best, etc. Rhetorical flourishes are when you are talking a lot without any you know um, uh, any real meaning. That is rhetorical flourishes, that you are being wordy and verbose, and you are not your writer lacks concrete terms, and there is very little meaning in proportion to the number of words that you are using. An example of rhetorical flourishes would be this example, this sentence: this is a subject of great importance to many people nowadays, and therefore which I feel I should discuss seriously and honestly. Simply one could say that this is an important subject. So to say this small phrase, the writer is using three sentences. So that is an example of rhetorical flourishes. Now the next the term is euphemism. Euphemism are those terms which are indirectly refer to something. For example, you say he passed away rather than saying that he died, and or kicked the bucket, or somebody who is fired. He is said that we'll have to let you go, or he comes home and says that I will now have a lot of time to spend with you all, rather than saying that I'm fired. So indirect way of saying something is euphemism. So that has to be avoided if we want to pursue impactful write-ups. So these are the principles that L.A. Hill shares with us about good writing, and these are really quite useful. And anybody who wants to improve upon his writing and wants to do better writing can always abide by these suggestions, these principles. Thank you so much. All the best.